Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
What if the key to evolution and enlightenment is to be found at the quantum level of life? If that's the case, how does one access the quantum level? And what, oh what, does the ancient practice of shamanism have to do with evolution today? Mission Evolution Radio TV is coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. We're produced by REL-MAR McConnell Media Company with studios and corporate offices in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. With us this hour to journey into shamanism and the mysterious quantum level is TODD WILCOX. TODD has had a lifelong fascination with alternative healing, consciousness expansion, and human potential. His first book, Slipstream Shaman, Using Quantum Healing for Individuals, Communities, and the Planet and Beyond, was recently published. He's also created online training, Your One Day Quantum Healing Awakening. His website, slipstreamshaman.com. TODD, thank you so much for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Hi, Gwilda. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, this should be a wonderful time. I'm really excited. It seems shamanism is coming more to the fore, isn't it?
It really is. When I was a little kid, and you can tell by my gray hair, that was a little while ago, it was a very weird looking thing. You'd see it on TV and somebody be shaking sticks and maybe throwing bones at somebody. But through the years, we've gotten away from the traditional TV version of what shamanism is. And it's becoming more and more mainstream, more and more acceptable. And we're starting to experiment with it and see what it can do and not just look at it as a fringe type of work.
So let's start out with, what is it?
What is it? You know, I like to boil things down. And to me, the very essence of what being a shaman is being able to work in a place of energy and spirit and make changes. And so that's what I do. I go to that place of energy and spirit that we can all access. And that's where I do my work. So shamanism to me is going to that place and helping people and myself and groups of people.
So where did you learn shamanism?
Mostly it's been me just learning on my own. About 20 years ago is where the actual shaman part of it started. And I was in a paranormal group, and we would go and do ghost investigations and try to help people. And sometimes you just couldn't help them. There was some kind of a haunting or something going on in the house that you just couldn't deal with. You couldn't help them. And there wasn't a place for the people to turn when that happened. And I got a call one day from another group that wanted to create for lack of a better term, a super group that would go help people that nobody else could help. And I said, well, that's wonderful. I want to do it. I want to be involved. I want to help. But how do we do that? Because your group couldn't help them, my group couldn't help them, and we're just taking people from these different groups that couldn't help them. What's going to make us different? And so we started looking at different ways of helping people. And the first thing they came up with, well, let's study demonology. That didn't sound like something I wanted to be a part of. It didn't sound to me, it didn't ring true as something that was going to help. Telling people about a demon that might be bothering them, it just didn't seem right. But as we talked more and more, and somebody mentioned maybe we could have a shaman teach us about protection, that absolutely radiated with me. And I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. And so that was the part of the training that I really thought was going to be of value to us. We had a shaman come out and was teaching us how to access our energy and to do some other things. And she helped most of the people in the group get better at it. The problem was, as she was showing us how to access our energy, she was describing a completely different experience than I was having. So she's describing the energy should be warm. Mine was cool. It should be a certain color. Mine was not. My energy, it's funny, it was almost the exact color of your shirt, a light blue color. That's very close to the energy that I had at the time. It's since evolved. And it's funny that the energy can change as you do this. but it started out as a light blue, just like your shirt. And that was where the whole thing started. I couldn't learn from her at that time. So I didn't interrupt everybody and make it bad. I listened to what she was doing and then I did it on my own. And
So
since then, everything has.
where was she trained?
She was trained, I want to say, through the Western Shoshones.
Okay, was she Shoshone herself?
She was not.
Okay. Did she consider herself a shaman?
She did. Yes, she called herself a shaman. And, and I guess there might be a little bit of pushback from people. Well, you're not an Indian, you're not from Peru, you're not whatever. And it doesn't matter. We're all made of the same things. When you boil, and like I said, I like to go down to the very basic of things. You boil us down to our essence, we're made of the same thing. You and I are made of the same star stuff that's been around for billions of years. There's not a bit of difference between your energy and mine. And so it really doesn't matter what my skin looks like and what my background is that way. It's about the intent to help people. And that's really where a shaman starts, is with that intent to help people.
So you were talking about she's training you how to work with your energy. What exactly does that mean?
Okay, great question. So it starts off, and this is how I start my training with people, is I want them to access their energy and to know what their energy feels like. And so I have them get their hands out and just start putting them together. And you'll feel something. In the center of your palms, you have a chakra, and you'll start feeling energy between the two. Might be warm, might be hot, might be cold. Mine's cold. Many of the people I work with have warm energy. Doesn't matter. Everybody's energy is fine. It doesn't matter if it's warm or cold. Doesn't matter the color. So you start finding your energy. Once you find your energy and you can access it easily, now you're going to cover yourself in it. And as you cover yourself in it, you're giving yourself that extra protection when you're going to like a haunted place or a place with some bad mojo or whatever, or when you start working with people and they may have some kind of attachment. You've got protection on you, and then you can give them protection. And so that's where the energy all starts. That's for me where shamanism starts, is finding your own energy, and then helping other people find theirs and aiding with that.
Well, where does this energy come from?
It is. I don't know if I could give you a definite answer. What my feeling is it's our soul. We're accessing our soul energy. And so, yeah, that's a great question. I don't know I don't know if there's scientific experiments that could take us to where this energy originates. But again, it's from that place of energy and spirit. My personal belief is that it comes from what we would call our soul.
So while we're doing definitions, what do you mean by spirit exactly?
By anything that doesn't have physical mass. Energy, energy and spirit could almost be considered the same thing, but it's where you can interact with people on a spiritual level. When I do my healings with people, I invite them into my quantum room, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But it's not their physical body that comes into that room. It's their essence. It's their spirit. It's their energy. And maybe, I need to look at boiling it down even farther, and that spirit and energy are one and the same. But it certainly helps in my description to say spirit and energy. It helps people understand it a little better. But it may be that they're exactly the same.
So do you do a shamanic journey? I know a journey trance is something that's associated with shamanism in most cultures. So do you do an actual shamanic journey?
So when I'm and maybe this, I don't go with the traditional shaman things. I haven't, after that first lady, I wasn't trained in with anybody. And so when I talk about what I do, it's going to be different than what the other shamans do. If you get with somebody from Peru or from one of the Indian tribes, as far as going on journeys, yes, my quantum room is my journey. I travel in time, if that's what we're talking about as a journey. I do not have a specific, what would you call it? A specific process that, like going on a vision quest or sitting out in the elements for 3 days to get me to a place. The journeys I go on are to that place of spirit and energy, and primarily in my quantum room where I'm able to access everything.
Do you use an altered state of consciousness to get there?
Yes, it's definitely an altered state of consciousness. When you're in that place, time is completely different. I will go and do work, whether it's on myself or for other people. And in my physical body, I feel like it's been a 5-minute session. And then when I get finished, I look at the clock and it might have been an hour. And the opposite happens where it feels like maybe it was an hour session, but in reality, it was only 5 minutes. So you're in a place where you don't know the time. And yeah, it's definitely an altered place. I don't need to use ayahuasca or anything like that to get to it. It's all through meditation and focus.
So you use meditation as the ceremony, if you will, to access the altered state of consciousness?
Yeah, you could call it a ceremony, a ritual, but yes, it's through meditation, and it's a quick meditation. Everything I do is fast. That's where the slipstream part of it comes in. Is that I decided that, well, let's back up even farther. Before I did the training for the shaman, with the shaman, I had gone through NLP training, neuro linguistic programming, hypnosis, EFT, different modalities to help people. And one of the teachers when I was in NLP said, whatever you do, whatever process you use, look for a way to do it faster. If you learn a process that normally takes 7 steps, see if you can do it in 6 or 5. And that's what this whole thing is about. Instead of taking 3 days to get to an altered state where you can access energy and spirit, I want you to do it in 5 minutes. Or almost immediately. It literally takes me seconds to get to my quantum room. So there's no need to go through long rituals. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and I'm not bad mouthing the people that do that. That's their journey. That's their trail. I'm on a different path. I'm doing things different, and what I learned through that shaman was, because she was trying to force me to have it exactly like hers, and I knew that wasn't the right trail. I knew that I was never going to do that to people that I was training. And so I want them to understand their energy can be whatever it is, hot, cold, whatever. It can be any color. It doesn't matter. Their energy is their energy. If I'm teaching them something that doesn't ring true and doesn't feel true, I want them to adjust it until it does. So everybody's on a different journey on this, and mine is about speed and helping the most people possible. So I'm quite different than what you're going to run into with the traditional shaman.
Well, it's about time for us to take a station break. Todd and I will return very shortly, so don't you go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Are you interested in evolving with the times and becoming all you can be? Don't you wish there was one place to find the latest information to help guide you through the process? I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of Mission Evolution Radio TV. Join me on my mission to find the latest evolutionary knowledge and tools. The guests on Mission Evolution are leading experts in a wide variety of divergent topics, including allopathic, holistic, and integrative medicine, epigenetics, enlightenment, quantum physics, meditative practices, environmental issues, spiritual evolution, trauma healing, and so much more. Mission Evolution Radio TV is aired worldwide through the X-Zone Broadcast Network, X-Zone TV Channel 32 on Simul TV. You can enjoy our archives of radio or TV shows with our compliments at www.missionevolution.org. Come see the amazing lineup of guests and topics. With more than 200 episodes to choose from, you're sure to find what you're looking for. Visit www.missionevolution.org. Is shamanism a real thing or just superstition? With us this hour discussing shamanism, and its place in the modern world is Todd Wilcox. His website, slipstreamshaman.com. Todd, why were you drawn to using the term shamanism if what you do is so different than the traditional?
Well, like I said before, when you boil it all down, what they're doing is going to a place of energy and spirit to help people. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm just doing it a different way. It's like saying, you've got a Ford truck and a Chevy Corvette. So it's just different methods of getting there. So it's still shamanism, even though it's not what you would consider traditional shamanism. And even what you consider traditional is all over the place. Some it's about meditation, some it's about sound, some it's about taking ayahuasca and different things to get there. So in at the very basis level, you're looking at energy and spirit. And we access energy and spirit, and shamanism is the right word to me for it. I might get pushback from other people, and that's okay. Everybody can have an opinion. I feel like it falls into the shaman grouping.
So we're talking about energy and spirit, and you're talking about working between your two hands to get a feel for what yours is like.
Mhm.
So once you get that done, then what do you do?
Then I go to a place that I call my quantum room. When I first found it, it looked like being in a storm cloud. It was just gray mist kind of floating all around me. Well, that was great. Thank you. Sorry about that. So gray mist just floating around me. And I really didn't know what was going on. It was something spontaneous that happened. I knew I was in a different place. I knew I was moving to something bigger and better. And all of a sudden I was in this room. And so I just worked on meditation at that point. And for me, meditation had been like for the last 15, 20 years before this, trying to relax, clear my head, and fall asleep. I never did do what I would consider meditation. Now, when I was in this room, this quantum room that I call it, now I could meditate and stay awake. And I was able to clear my mind. I was able to work on different things. And so it took several years before I realized exactly what this room was doing. And when it really started to develop was we talked a lot about in that group I was in, the super group, we talked a lot about everybody seemed to need some kind of warrior with them. And a lot of people would take Archangel Michael and Jesus and different warrior aspects to them when we'd go to these houses. And so I was in that place of in my quantum room, and I said, is there a warrior team for me? And things started coming through the mist to me. The first was a beagle that I had several years before named Desi. And what a fantastic choice as the first person through for this warrior team. She was the most beautiful dog I'd ever seen. If you stood above her and looked down, it looked like she had wings on her back, kind of like a Pegasus. Her coloring was just gorgeous. She was a beautiful dog and small, but absolutely fearless and absolutely ferocious. If you were a snake or a rat or anything like that, and you came into the yard, your time was up. She was not going to deal with it. If you were a big dog that came into her yard, you were in trouble as well. She didn't care what it was. She was very protective of family and very just loyal and courageous. I thought this is perfect. And then
Now
other
let me
sure.
clarify. When
Mhm.
when you're in your quantum room, I take it
Yes,
that's kind of like a meditative state. It's an internal room.
correct. It's not a
Okay.
physical place.
And was your dog still in the fur, or had she crossed over?
She had crossed.
So she came back kind of like a helping spirit, if you will.
Yes. Now,
Okay.
and that's primarily what comes to me in that quantum room for help, whether it's the warrior team or the love team. It's something that has passed, but that's not always the case. Some of the dogs that I have that are alive still have also come and helped. So it's not exclusive to things that are completely in the spirit world, but it's mostly that's what tends to show up.
Do you find that animals are less bound by our ordinary reality, if you will, than we are, whether they're
With
alive or whether they're dead?
Yeah, without question. We would sometimes take a dog on these haunted investigations we would go on, and it was not uncommon for us to be looking around trying to figure something out, and the dog is just staring in the corner at something. And we might get a weird picture later, or we might get a voice coming from that area, but the dog's always knew more than what we did about what was going on. I think they still have access, and I think children do too. And as we get older, we erase that. We put barriers up to keep from seeing those things.
Oh, we get indoctrinated into this reality, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you were working with mostly paranormal investigation at this time?
Yes, when I first started working on this, I was doing mostly paranormal, and I've done over 300 investigations. I was quite active. My group was quite active, and we loved doing it. Over the years, we have slowed down substantially. We don't get together very often at all anymore, but we're still great friends. But we have different things that we're looking at, and I'm primarily doing this. So yeah, I've gotten away from that. I still love it. I love being in old buildings. I love being out in nature where we would do these investigations. I love being, wherever they were. It was always a lot of fun and very fascinating. But yeah, it's something that I don't do as much as I used to.
So when you're working in the paranormal investigation and you decide to be a super team, were you did you find yourself then called to shamanic healing work on the space versus just seeing what's there?
That took a little while. The healing part of it did not happen, overnight. This is, like I said, this is a process, a version of shamanism that I've developed. So yeah, I didn't have it overnight. It was a good 10 plus years from the time I first even went into my quantum room before I started doing healing stuff. And that was I don't know if accident's the right word, but sometimes you get that synchronicity, that zeitgeist, that everything aligns. And there was somebody that needed some help, and so that had physical problems, and I invited them into the quantum room just to see what would happen. And at that time, I didn't have a love team; I just had the warrior team, and so we found what I thought was the issue with that person, removed it, and very violently incinerated this thing. And then, well, let me. I'm kind of going sideways on the story. So I get somebody that came in to do I didn't know it was a healing, but I wanted to help them in some way. Desi started sniffing around this person, and I don't remember the actual thing that happened, but let's just say that she. And to preface this, when I'm doing this, I have a very limited time to write down what happened or I forget it because it's in a completely different place, a place that doesn't work with my brain. The human brain isn't set up to be in this place. And so if I don't make notes, detailed notes quickly, I don't remember anything that happened. Of the thousands of healings I've done, I know bits and pieces of maybe 20 of them. And mostly the reason I can tell you stories that happened there was because I took down notes, reviewed the notes, and to the point that now I can kind of access what happened.
So is it like a dream state?
It would be similar to a lucid dream state where you have
Right.
control.
And in dreams, we don't always retain.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But with a lucid dream, if you've ever had a lucid dream where you have control of the dream and you can do anything you want, those tend to stick with you. This process does not for me. Now, other people have said that when they do the quantum healing that they do remember it. I do not. I use a dictation program on my phone because I would forget it almost immediately, and people want to know what happened. And so there's and maybe I need to just kind of tell you how the process works and what's going on. What I have now is a warrior team and a love team. The warrior team finds things on people that shouldn't be there. And those are three basic things. You have something that's there a lot, about 97% of the time. It's what I call a companion. And these companions started out as something that was positive for the people, but over time have become a problem. So picture a little boy playing, hurts his arm, and and so he saw on TV maybe some wrestlers or football players that had a band tied to their arm to keep things in place, and so he does that, and that arm feels better. And so that band in that moment is helping him. Now, what if he leaves that band on for a week? Is the arm being helped or hurt? If he leaves that band on for a month, What about a year? What about 10 years? So what started out as something good that helped becomes something that's a problem later on. And that's what these companions are. It's energy. It's not a physical thing, but it's energy. The next thing that we deal with is a parasite. These things did not start with a positive intent. There's something kind of bad to them. And they are there primarily taking energy. And then the final thing that I run into, and it's very rare, and like I said, I've done thousands of these healings and thousands of times in the quantum, and I've only run into 3 of these things. And I don't know what to call them, whether they're demons or aliens or something else. I don't really know how to name them. One looked like an alien. You could also say it looks like what people call a demon. So the other things were so otherworldly that I don't even know how to describe the other 2 in the time that we have left. But so those are the 3 things we're looking for. And what Desi would do is sniff around on somebody, and this again is metaphysical. It's not their physical body. It's their essence. And she'd start scraping. And in one of the cases, let's talk about a lady that had a heart problem that I didn't know about, but she started digging around her back, kind of where her heart was, pulled this rag out of it.
So let me back up just a little bit.
Sure.
We're talking about the spirit Desi, and we're talking
Correct.
about the spirit of the person in your
Correct.
quantum room. Not
Yes.
Okay. Not somebody on a table with your dog
physical.
taking after him. Okay.
Nothing's physical. Yes,
Okay.
nothing's physical. I've worked with people in different states, in different countries, at different times. So I will do the work, and it affects them later. So there's, we're not bound by any physical thing. It's not about distance or time when I'm doing this work. So Desi pulls this rag out of her, and we take the rag, we give it healing energy, and then the love team gives it love energy. It transforms from this rag into this little boy with blue eyes, curly blonde hair, that looks at this lady with just absolute love and then walks away. And so what I'm thinking is happening is as we pull these things out, and they're just how they represent themselves to me. It's the energy representing itself. We're changing it back to its original intent, its original form, so it can go out and do what it's supposed to do. So in this case, it looked like a rag when there was a problem, and then it transported in this little boy. And I've seen all kinds of things. You name it, we've taken it from somebody. You name it, it's turned into it.
Well, Todd, it's time for another station break here.
Okay.
So we will be back to continue our discussion. So you folks stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
Are you ready for a tale that will leave you on the edge of your seat? Get ready to dive into the gripping memoir by Bart Sibrel titled Moon Man. Bart Sibrel takes you on a heart-pounding journey, unmasking the truth behind America's famous Apollo missions. Prepare yourself for hair-raising encounters with agents from the U.S. government's top secret agencies. In Moon Man, Sibrel fearlessly reveals his real-life espionage adventures, shining a light on one of the CIA's best-kept secrets. Brace yourself for shocking revelations, including Sibrel's discovery of privately recorded audio exposing an Apollo astronaut's chilling plot, a plot orchestrated by the CIA. That's right. As Sibrel unveils this groundbreaking evidence, it becomes clear that there is much more to the Apollo missions than meets the eye. Could it be that we've been deceived all along? Moon Man is a gripping page-turner that challenges everything you thought you knew. It's a mind-bending journey into the unknown, where the line between truth and fiction becomes blurred. Don't miss this opportunity to uncover the secrets hidden for decades. Let your curiosity guide you as you join Bart Sibrel on his quest to find the truth. Moon Man, available now at Sibrel.com. That's Sibrel.com. Prepare to have your beliefs shaken to the very core.
Is time travel really possible? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing the fluid nature of shamanism is TODD WILCOX. Todd, you brought up something pretty interesting, that piqued my interest anyway, um, about we're not bound by time or space. Is that explain that a little bit? Is that in our day to day life, or is that just when you go into your quantum room in a altered state?
So primarily when you go in the altered state. Um, However, what I've found is when you're doing this work, you're working on somebody, and you help them with a problem, an energy alignment, a healing, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't just heal them in the moment, it heals history as well. So it goes back, and many shaman groups believe that when you do these healings, you're healing 7 generations at a minimum. And so picture healing back 7 generations, and that same energy, that same problem that's causing you problems now is healed back then, and then flows all the way through those generations, even going past you. So in that sense, in our physical bodies, we can touch time travel because you do that healing that heals way back, and it goes through you, goes into future generations, and helps them as well. In your quantum area, when you're in the quantum room, when you're in that place of energy and spirit, you're not bound by the same time rules that we are here. Time is, like you said, fluid, and I don't know if fluid's even a strong enough word for it. In that, it's I really believe you can be everywhere at the same time, like that movie, everything everywhere all at once. I think once you get away from the physical body, that's what you're experiencing. I Over the years, I've started to wonder if maybe reincarnation isn't about present lives and past lives, but current lives. All these things taking place at the same time in a way that we don't understand time in human form. I think time is a completely different critter once you get out of our physical bodies. But physical bodies are, for the most part, bound by time, as far as I know. Hopefully, there's a time machine invented at some point. But as far as I know, and as far as my development has taken me, I can't physically go back in time, but I can certainly go back in time and forward in time with energy.
So when you go backwards and well, go backwards, excuse me, when you do a healing and the healing travels backwards, doesn't that change the future and the present?
Without question, it changes every step along the way. It makes things better. It gets your energy aligned right. You're not passing it on to new generations. So yes,
But
it does.
if we change it, then how do we even remember it? It changed, clear in history.
And that's a great point about what takes place with this. I can't tell you um, how hard it was on me when I first started doing this. I would help people with things. I would help people with their health, with something going on in their home, an entity or a bad energy or whatever, with a pet. I would help them with these things. And weeks, months, years later, I'd say, "Hey, how's your dog?" "Oh, the dog's doing great." Everything, not once, not one time has anybody ever said, "Yeah, you know what? I appreciate what you did. That everything changed the day that you did that healing for me." Not once has anybody said that. So it's exactly what you're saying, is that once that changes, the memories are gone. That those things are altered. Uh, Not a You almost have to go into it like, they talk about the superheroes, where you have to have the fake identity, and you can't take credit for anything, because they don't remember. They don't remember that you did this for them. They don't remember that there was a problem before. And if you talk to people that have gone through different trainings for hypnosis, NLP, whatever the case is, one of the things that you learn is that you better write these things down, because you're going to forget it was ever an issue. Um, and all of a sudden you're 10 years later, and you look at notes, and you barely remember that was a problem, at the time. So
Interesting.
yeah, you're right.
So they don't even remember coming to you in the first place, or does it just kind of get foggy, or what's that look like?
Um, I don't know if I can say they don't remember coming to me, but they certainly don't remember that I did the process for them. It might be, they're in a different state or whatever. Here's one example. A friend of mine I saw on Facebook, and we lived in different states at the time. He he was talking about his dog was getting sick, getting sicker, getting sicker. And then he puts on there, okay, the dog's done. I'm taking him to the vet. The vet said if these things continued the way they were, that they would have to put him down. And they're actually not only continued the way it was, but it was worse. And so he was heading down to, he was getting in the car to take him to the vet to put the dog down. And so I called him and said, Jim, you know, we talked about the, oh, I shouldn't have said his name. We've talked about the, that is really embarrassing. I'm sorry about that. I typically don't do that. I lied about his name. So anyway, I told this person, don't do this. Don't take the dog. Give me an hour. And he committed to an hour, and he waited an hour, then took the dog down. The next thing I know, he's posting that the dog is fine. The dog made a complete turnaround, a full turnaround right now. And I told him what I was going to do, and we talked about it. And he says, yes, I'll take anything. I'll do anything. And through the years, I've talked to him, and I always ask, how is your dog? And not one time has he mentioned that we did that process.
Interesting. Do you find animals more receptive to this process than humans?
No, animals have been very receptive, but humans are too. I find that certain things are very, very receptive. Heart issues, for some reason, are extraordinarily successful with this energy change, and I couldn't tell you why, but every time we do work with hearts, there's a great outcome. So that part's exciting. Hearts usually really respond well, but things involving other people, not as much. So when I was working with people that were having issues with family members or at work, that's not as powerful as the health issues in the change, but still certainly helps, certainly changes their perspective and gets better. But as far as having the great, goosebump inspiring change, it typically is with health problems.
Do you suppose that's because when you're working with relationship issues, you're dealing with more than one person?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of variables. So they can change their perspective, but sometimes they fall back into the same pattern. The same patterns are around them and they fall back into it. And sometimes people don't want to change it. They say they do, but in reality, they like being able to say, I'm having this problem with this person. My life is chaos, because they get reinforcement from other people and probably for other reasons. But when you look on social media and somebody says, I just can't take it anymore, I'm so upset, that's to get people to respond to them and say, oh no, everything's okay, I'm with you, you're loved, and these things. And when they lose that, they feel like they've lost something with them. So as they fix relationship things, it's a little more difficult, it's a little more involved.
Where do you stand on permission? I mean, because you can go into this quantum level and access people, right?
Yes, and I always have some kind of permission. If it's a pet, I need permission from the pet owner. If it's a person, I want either their permission or a family member's. Sometimes they're not able to. I worked with a lady that was in a coma, and so I had permission from her husband to do this. And I've had numerous spouses that do permission, and or family members, brothers, sisters, parents. But yes, I always have permission before I do this. I just don't do it willy-nilly.
So when you're working with someone and you're getting permission from a family member, is it because you can't directly communicate with that person, like the coma?
Like the coma, or it might be an adult and their child is 3, and how do you explain that to the 3-year-old? So
Right. Of course, they probably get it better than we do if you think about it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Okay.
They absolutely get computers and telephones better than I do, so it wouldn't surprise me that other things as well.
Well, that's a genetic thing, I swear. So you mentioned, let me see if I can get this right, retrocausality. What's
Yes,
that?
retrocausality. That is a version of time travel. So that is when you can help somebody in the past right now. And so where this all came about, and I don't remember the name of the article, but there was a group that did an experiment. They went to a hospital and they were given access to some hospital records. and it was about a blood disease that people had. And they took the records from, if I remember right, 1 year, and they just randomly split these records up into 2 piles. One pile of records, they got a group together and they prayed on it. They meditated, they sent love, they did everything you can imagine spiritually to these records to help these people. And this is from 10 plus years in the past that the people were sick in the hospital. And then with the other half, they did nothing. And they found a statistical difference in the rate of recovery, the quality of the recovery, virtually every measurable thing with those people in the group that was sent the prayers and the positive energy. We also, we know that if you do the positive energy with water and then freeze it, you get much different crystals than if you don't. So there's things out there, and retrocausality is a form of time travel, but you're actually helping groups in the past.
Well, then that brings to mind, what if it's misused? Can you put curses in the same way?
Yeah, you might be able to. And people have asked me that before, and it's just not anything that I've spent time working on. This whole thing for me is what I found meditating in my quantum room was that my life's purpose. I searched for my life's purpose for decades. And what came to me was 2 words: to help. So my purpose is to help, and putting a curse on somebody is not helping them. And in fact, people putting curses on, I think curses are a real thing, and sending out negative intent, negative thoughts are a real thing. And I think that's where those parasites I talked to you about come from. Could be from road rage or anything like that. That's very intense emotions being shot out to the universe that become parasites. So I think you can curse people. You probably could use retrocausality to do that. It is not something I have experimented with or ever will experiment with. I won't be a part of that. But it's very possible that it is. And I just want to send out the intention to the world and the energy to the world that don't use this for that. Use this for good. What this is for is to help. That's what this whole process was for. That's why the universe let me develop this and gave me this technique, process, ability, whatever you want to call it, was to help. And putting out a curse is certainly not helping. And I wouldn't do something like that. I wouldn't even experiment to see if it was true.
That's probably a good standard there. Yeah. Well, it's that magic moment again. Please stay with us as Todd and I continue to explore shamanism, quantum healing, and evolution. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Do you have a product or service you'd like to promote to a worldwide audience? Imagine your product featured on Mission Evolution Radio TV. If you're interested in showcasing your work, Mission Evolution is broadcast to the X Zone TV Channel 32 Simul TV, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, YouTube, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, and many other audio and social media platforms. Our professional studios can produce and broadcast your custom high-quality ad. It will be permanently embedded in each episode and featured in the archives for years to come. Together, we can make it happen. Contact us at info@missionevolution.org for more details. Spaces are limited, so don't miss out on this great opportunity. Email info@missionevolution.org today. What happens when you're not conscious of what you're putting into the quantum level? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. Our guest is TODD WILCOX, and we're talking about Slipstream Shamanism. Todd, we were talking about how you can put out blessings and prayers and people benefit from that. And then I brought up the question, can you put out curses the same way? And you said probably. So now my question to you is, what about our unconscious thoughts, intents, negative things that we cast at people without really recognizing it? Do you suppose that has an impact?
Yes, and that's what I was talking about with those parasites that we removed from from people's energy. I believe they started out as some kind of negative intent, whether it was a curse or bad, just bad thoughts, any number of things. I think I got to the mute button that time. Uh, so yes, I think those things happen, and thankfully, I don't think they have a lot of energy. You think about road rage, all the horrible things being screamed every day. And one of the things I work on is called a polymedella, and that's a many healing. It's a term that I coined for Slipstream Shaman, and so we're healing a lot of people and a lot of things at the same time. And we did a road rage polymedella, and I know for me, it changed the way I thought about driving. Instead of being stressed out about a drive, instead of getting worked up about all the things that were going to make me mad, I can go into it in a much better frame of mind. Am I saying I don't get mad when I drive anymore? No, that still happens, but my perspective has changed immensely, and I feel like the people around me's perspective has changed immensely. I pay very close attention to what's going on me as I'm driving, and I would see the patterns of, okay, this person's about to cut this one off so they can do something else, and I don't see as much of that now. So I do believe that by me doing that many healings, it went out to the world, and it's certainly still surrounding me, and so I'm hopefully touching people on the road as I'm there and helping with road rage as we go. I'm seeing a lot less, I mean substantially less, people doing crazy things as I'm driving now than I was before. And so, and it might just be one of those things where that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the positive, so I'm seeing the positive instead of looking for the negative and seeing the negative. I'm not sure which it is, but I do not see the craziness that I used to, and I certainly feel better about driving after doing that.
So let's go backwards to haunted houses.
Okay.
Do you suppose that people's unconscious negative intent leaves a trail, and that's part of what is haunting the house?
I would say yes. I think energy has life, and when you have a lot of bad energy, those things tend to happen. Um, so I think yes, you can haunt a house, and I think to a lesser extent you can bless a house by being very positive, very happy. I think you can do that, but I think houses tend to be what you bring to them. As I talk to people that buy new houses or that are renting and switch houses or apartments, and I'll ask them, "Are you excited about your first night there?" And they'll say something to the effect of, "Well, I don't know. It's not really home yet." And so you haven't put that home energy into that space. And so our energy certainly travels into the home and the space around us. And I believe some of that energy is leftover things. I
So,
also think with a lot of hauntings that you're in a place where there's just a very thin veil between dimensions, and you're hearing things on the other side. Somebody similar to us on the other side, we're just hearing them as we're getting EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon. I think there's more of that than actually haunting with bad energy. I think we're just in a place where we can hear it better.
so you're talking like bleed through from parallel realities?
Yes. Yes, bleed through that. I've often pictured, what would happen if there's a group of paranormal investigators in our reality and a paranormal group in the other reality, and they're both talking to each other going, "Did you hear that ghost? We're getting all these great things. There's a ghost talking to us." And both of them are just trying to do the same thing.
Sometimes we are the ghosts we seek, aren't we?
Absolutely.
So, I'm to understand that not just people can be healed or ill,
Mhm.
but place or thing can also be impacted by imbalanced negative inundations.
Yes. And I've worked with people that have had houses with issues. We've removed the negative energy from the houses, cleared it, put a an energy barrier there to keep the negative from coming back with the intention of only letting positive in. And they see great changes in that. I also
It's
worked at a house that had one of those, when I said that there's aliens or demons, one house that I worked on actually had an energy conduit in the basement sucking energy out of that house by one of those things. So,
mm.
there's that too.
So, what do you suppose that all that we've been talking about for the past hour? How can that aid evolution? How can that aid us evolving?
So beautiful question. What I hope is, as I'm doing this work and I'm getting more and more people involved and they're learning what I'm doing, and then taking what I do and evolve it, what my expectation is just like with my kids or the people I work with, as they grow and develop, they're doing better things than I ever thought I could. My kids have passed me in many things, and that's what I want with this. I want the people that learn this process to make it their own and really develop and run and do special things. And as a group, the people that are working with this and other parts of shamanism, I want us to be raising the vibrational state of the planet and even the universe. And so that's where I see my small part of us evolving, is that as people learn what I do, they make it their own, they're evolving, which causes evolution around them.
Well, you mentioned that when you're driving and you're thinking positive things, you feel like your presence is affecting the environment. Is that because our intention goes out beyond our physical body? Is there a field that interacts with the rest of the world?
Absolutely. And when I part of my morning and evening routine is I will, put the energy, get my energy, put it on me, and then I visualize different homes of people that I love. And I make sure that their house is covered in protective, positive energy. And then I expand that out to the entire state they live in. And I do that for multiple states. Sometimes I do it for the entire US, sometimes for the entire earth, even out farther. When things were really bad with COVID, I was doing our country at least once a week, just expanding positive energy through the whole country and the entire world and even beyond that. And so when the book says individuals, communities, the planet, and beyond, I have sent energy out as far as I can tell where it goes into the universe with positive energy to help things be better.
If we, more of us, um, become conscious of what we're carrying in our field, do you see that impacting the future?
Oh, without question. We need to move away from the self-centered, win at all cost frame of mind, and look at, how do I help? What can I do to help? How do I make things better? Not just for me, not just for my family, not just for future generations, but how do I make it better for everybody? And as we make things better for everybody, you're going to get that constant improvement. Even a 1% improvement worldwide would be gigantic. And so I would love us to get together. I know that the more of us that do this, it's just like flashlights. If you take one person with a flashlight and shine it in a cave from 20 yards, you're going to get so much light. But you get 20 people shining a flashlight in there, it's going to be so much brighter. Now, what if you get 1,000 or 1,000,000 shining it into that cave? It's going to light up. And that's what we're doing, is we're focusing our energy on good things and getting away from the negative. I think better and better things will happen. I quit watching the news because all it wants to do is dwell on the negative. And
That
so
it
I'm
does.
not a part of it anymore. I'm looking at positive. I want to be a part of us moving forward positively.
So, do you teach this process?
I do. And that's what the book's about, is teaching people how to do this. And it's a quick read. You're looking less than 2 hours from the time you have the book in your hand, you can start working this process. I also have an online program that teaches you that and a little bit more. And it's quick videos. I don't like wasted time. So Slipstream's all about speed, right? Speed and ease. And so the videos are less than 10 minutes each, and then you start practicing.
What do you charge?
So for the book is $14.99. The online course is $77.
So that's $77 for.
That's for an online course that has about 20 modules in it that you'll have forever. It's not 77 a month or anything like that. It's a one-time fee that teaches you how to do what I do and get in tune with uh, shamanism, quantum healing. It's your first step. It's your basis. It's what would get you started on it. And then you can either learn from other people. There'll be more courses that I put out later. You can learn what I do more, or you can, start doing your own thing, or learn from other people at that point.
So you basically are self-taught, yes?
Yes. Mhm.
And then you're teaching people to do what you've taught yourself to do.
Correct.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So it's about time in the show. In fact, we're just past time to ask you, Todd, what's your mission?
My mission, my purpose is to help. And I love having simple things like that. It's to help. And how I've chosen to help is by working this course, teaching people how to do what I do, and then watching them run. I used to do individual healings. I've been overwhelmed with those. I don't charge for that. I charge, like I said, it's $77 for this course. You'd pay thousands to go to traditional training, but $77, you could do it at home at your own pace, and you could literally do many of the things that I do the same day, whether it's the book or the course.
And what's a traditional training?
The traditional training is you spend weeks, months, years with somebody learning the basics of shamanism, learning how to meditate, learning how to change your energy, learning how to travel in that place of spirit and energy. And I don't have the time. I don't think most people have the time.
So back to Slipstream.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, tell us where you can find your book and your classes.
Very good. So you can go to Amazon for the book and just type in Slipstream Shaman. It'll come up. You can also go to my website, slipstreamshaman.com. And for some reason, the link from that website to my training course is not working. But that training course is at myslipstreamshaman.com. So it's almost the same thing, just myslipstreamshaman.com, and you can get the course. Or if you send me an email from the Slipstream Shaman, I can send you a link.
Well, Todd, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thanks for coming on the show. Our guest this hour has been TODD WILCOX, the author of Slipstream Shaman, using quantum healing for individuals, communities, and the planet and beyond. To find out more about Todd or where you can find his books, visit his website at slipstreamshaman.com. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to enjoy past archived episodes, visit www.missionevolution.org. But please, be sure to join us right here next time as this mission continues, bringing information, resources, and support to an evolving world.